Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Paolo Arau, and my paper is entitled The Correlation of High Employee Performance and Leadership Potential Ratings, a case in petrochemical industry, United Arab Emirates. To give you a background about my paper, most of the companies in the oil and gas and petrochemical industry who have a department, division, function, or business unit related to talent management often uses 9-box grid potential and performance to measure and estimate individuals' potential as future leader. And to those of you who are not so familiar about the 9-box grid, as you could see in my slide, there is an image of a 9-box grid wherein the x-axis below is the performance and the y-axis is the potential. And if you could see in the 9-box grid, the upper right quadrant is highlighted in pink or red. This is often called the talent pool, wherein if there's any vacancies or if there's any in terms of succession planning, companies normally select potential successors out of this talent pool on the upper right quadrant of the box. And as I wrote this paper, interestingly, I found out that I have not seen nor read a research on the reliability and validity of the employee performance and potential ratings as variables to identify, classify, and develop future leaders. And ironically, even though that there is no research or study on the validity and reliability of 9-box potential and performance, companies are still using it. In fact, a recent research conducted by Church in 2020 revealed that the potential and performance paradigm is already dead. Okay? And so, to share with you the research problem and the issues revolving performance, these are some of the issues. Individual performance are highly subjective. I'm sure all of you here watching would agree that performance scores or ratings tend to be subjective, and I couldn't agree more. Research consistently revealed that employee performance scores are shown to be closely related to the relationship between employee and line manager rather than actual job performance output. Okay, and this is really happening in any organization because of the fact that employee leaders or supervisors want to establish this good working relationship with their team members. Majority of the employees' performance scores are average or placed in the middle, and this performance error is called central tendency. The reason for this is that some of the leaders or managers don't have the skills to provide feedback and handle difficult conversation, so they will place all employees in the middle. Okay, they are hesitant to give low performance rating, even though the employee deserves that, because he or she will be forced to give feedback, and he is not skilled in doing that. Same thing with giving high performance rating. He or she will be forced to justify to the management. Research also revealed that past performance score is not a reliable predictor of future performance in a senior, different, and more complex role. However, some of the organization or most of the organization promote someone because that employee performs well at the current role. Okay, and research shows that it is not a reliable predictor, and past or even current performance does not always lead to effective performance in a broader future roles. And this could be better be explained by what we call Peter principle, wherein certain individuals will rise to their level of incompetence. That if we keep on promoting someone because of his or her current or past performance, that employee or individual will reach to a certain level of incompetence. Okay, because certain skill set, requires to different, more complex roles. A certain skill set at a section head or supervisor level may not be applicable on a department or VP level. Okay, these are some of the issues revolving around performance. In terms of potential, these are some of the issues. Potential has different meaning to different organization. I remember when I was working in Saudi, we have a different meaning of potential. It is a high level concept, and there is no commonly accepted definition. If to those of you who are watching who have a potential assessment, what is your definition of potential? Maybe in other company they have their own definition of potential. Is it potential to grow? Okay, about job enlargement or job enrichment. The attributes an employee must have to succeed in a more complex and senior role are not addressed. Okay, a research done by Church in 2016, Silzer and Church in 2016. There is no universal definition of potential. Each company has its own definition of what is potential. And potential scores are highly subjective. In fact, the evaluation of high potential employees is ultimately a subjective process based on the expert opinions of those who serve in supervisory roles. This is prevalent if the potential assessment is done internally and the potential tool or potential assessment tool is also developed and administered internally. Okay, I'm not saying that if it is done externally, it will not be subjective. There will always there will still be subjectivity in it. And lastly, and this is very interesting, is the concept of potential a generic one, common to all, or common to all roles, regardless if you're department manager, VP, SVP, director, or whether different roles and operating environments have different criteria for success. Can we generalize potential to all levels? So okay, so these are the things or issues revolving about potential. Now, reflect on those issues with regards to the performance and potential. Okay, and so my research hypothesis is my null hypothesis is there is no significant relationship between high performance and potential ratings as an input to the talent pool to identify and classify future leaders in the organization. And my research objectives are as follows: to determine the correlation coefficient of high performance and potential ratings, and to investigate alternative factors, variables to use in identifying potential leaders in an organization. So the methodology which I have used in my paper are as follows. The research utilized a descriptive and correlational research design. 55 high-performing leaders whose performance rating is either exceed expectation or significantly exceed expectations were extracted and correlated against their potential ratings using correlational data statistical analysis. Each employee's performance rating was correlated against 5 factors leaders learning agility model developed by Center for Creative Leadership, CCL. This is the potential factors. The correlation analysis resulted to a unique correlational coefficient for each of the 5 potential factors against the employee's performance rating. The five the 5 potential factors are as follows: innovation, performing, reflecting, risking, and defending. So these 5 potential factors were correlated to the employee's performance rating to see whether there is a relationship between these 2 variables. I have also utilized a survey wherein I have conducted it with SVPs, VPs, and DMs, capturing leaders' perception on performance rating and potential rating. And my research findings, uh, as you could see here, the correlational coefficient or the Pearson's R between the performance rating and these five potential factors. The highest one is the reflecting 0.19, okay, and the lowest one is negative 0.067. And as you can see here, there is a very weak correlation, very weak. In other words, there is no correlation at all between the potential rating and the employee performance rating. In order to establish that there is a strong correlation between two variables, the Pearson correlation coefficient must be between 0.80 to 1.0. Okay, and it didn't even reach to 0.25 or 30 or even half. So it means that there is no correlation at all. The survey result on leaders' perception, 62% agree that employees with high performance rating I'm sorry, 62% disagree that employees with high performance rating are potential leaders. Okay, and this supports our initial research. Uh, Also, 71% agree that employees who have high potential ratings will become high performers in any organization. 71% also agree that employees' performance rating are indeed subjective. Again, this supports our research and literature review. And finally, 71% agree that potential ratings are still essential in identifying future leaders in the organization. Okay? So the conclusion and my recommendation is that finally, based on my paper and based on the correlational analysis, there is no significant relationship between high performance and potential ratings as an input to the talent pool to identify and classify future leaders in the organization. So my recommendations, to conduct a predictive validity on leaders' potential scores against leadership potential criterion measure. This approach will validate whether the criteria or factors being used in potential assessments will really predict leadership effectiveness in future role. So how you do this? Those of you who are watching and have a potential assessment tool, and you are doing it or administering it on an periodic basis, or let's say on an annual or every 2 years. Uh, Once you have conducted this, set a timeline, perhaps after 1 year, and correlate that leader's performance or that leader's performance contribution to the growth and profitability of the company, and correlate with the any of the potential variables. For example, if one of the variables in the potential assessment is innovation, after 12 months, how many innovative ideas that this leader contributed, implemented, or executed, resulting to significant success to the company. Or if one of the variables in the potential assessment is people development, how many leaders this employee developed, or how many potential leaders he has developed or create developmental opportunities. Was he successful in demonstrating these potential variables after 12 months? Did he significantly contribute? What's the correlation? So you could do a predictive validity. Also, my recommendation is to explore how to minimize the subjectivity and on employees' performance appraisal. You could do it by reinforcing the importance of performance feedback, okay? Meaningful dialogue and transparency to the employees, which is lacking to some of the companies. And a more reliable, valid, and evidence based criteria in identifying and classifying future leaders must be in place. Okay, so in other words, it's about time that we look at an evidence based criteria in identifying future leaders. And there are lots of research, if I may suggest, there are a lot of research showing that effective leaders tend to have high emotional intelligence. That emotional intelligence correlates with leadership effectiveness. Maybe that could be one factor. Also, recent research conducted that effective leaders tend to have certain level of IQ, okay, emotional quotient, and IQ links to problem solving skills, and leaders tend to solve problems on a daily basis. So perhaps it's about time to look at nine bucks EQ and IQ. Okay, maybe a research about that could be done or explored. Okay, so these are my recommendations. And as I end, I'd like to acknowledge the following. This paper would not have been possible without the support of our SVP, Asil Umudi, for endorsing and supporting my paper, approving all the surveys. Musa Al Shamsi, our department manager, for the guidance and support on the paper. And finally, my colleague and friend, Jose Cosca, Senior Specialist Human Capital Projects, for the graphics and the images. Again, the floor is now open for questions, and thank you.